Alex Army, and welcome back. Today we're starting a brand new series, and this isn't just a series. This is essentially a free masterclass on brat taming. So be sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on because you don't want to miss any of the information we'll be covering over the next 5 weeks, including healthy bratting methods versus toxic bratting methods, as well as how to handle and tame a brat with a contrasting breakdown of each 3-step approach. And the principles we'll cover in this series all rest on the same framework, which is where I'd like to start today. And as you can see on the screen, this framework has 4 distinct parts: style, goal, method, and result. Today we'll add the first 3 positive or playful styles of bratting to our chart, and next week we'll get into the dark and destructive styles of bratting. Now, despite the diversity of these bratting styles, I found a striking constant throughout each style. Ready for it? No matter what style of bratting is at play, and we'll cover the 6 main ones over the next 2 weeks, no matter what style is at play, the ultimate desired result never changes. And what is that? What is the overarching theme? An increased power gap. An increased gap between dominant and submissive, because this increased power gap gives that sense of submissive arousal that the bottom player subtype often craves. So regardless of the style, motivation, or method, all bratting leads to the same end: an increased power gap, and I'll prove it to you in this series. So each style simply adds a unique nuance to this objective. So what are the 3 styles we're discussing today? Bratting, backtalking, commonly referred to as a smartass masochist, and personal expression. Now, bratting is essentially adding a touch of mischief to your interactions. Smarting off incorporates verbal challenges or quid pro quo type dialogue, and personal expression serves as a platform for freedom and subsequent feistiness. But remember the point we made a minute ago? All forms or styles of bratting have the same goal, which is an increased power gap. In other words, these 3 styles and the 3 toxic methods we'll discuss next week are all employed to get a variation of the increased power gap, whether that includes simply more time and dominant attention, deeper caregiving, increased sexual tension, or correction and their favorite punishment. The goal never changes. The ultimate desired result never changes, but the style of bratting definitely determines how the subtype is looking for the power gap to manifest. In other words, in the realm of brat taming or brat handling, it's not about addressing the what, but the why. But this can be really tricky to determine, right? This is where my dominant coaching clients will ask me, how can I know for sure what my subtype is doing or is thinking or what they're after? What are they trying to accomplish? And how do I handle it appropriately? Because if not, things can go bad fast. So if that's you, you don't want to miss my new Brat Taming bundle on Patreon, which includes some epic new resources. And yeah, I say epic because I have created a bratting decision tree to help you dominants figure out what kind of bratting is taking place and what to do about it. This amazing resource has 45 decision points with 15 possible outcomes. This is essentially the next best thing to having me in your ear to help you make sense of your dynamic. And in this bundle, I've also included my brand new Bratting Methodology chart, which uses the framework you'll see in this series to illustrate 6 specific bratting scenarios with practical examples to effectively determine why your subtype is acting out, and what you can do to effectively navigate the situation and get your dynamic back on track. So you can get all this and more in my new Brat Taming bundle on Patreon. Just go over to patreon.com/LXerotica to get instant access. So let's get back to this framework. If bratting adds a touch of mischief to your interactions, the motivation for doing so often includes elevating emotional and sexual tension and is accomplished through playful resistance. If smarting off incorporates verbal challenges or quid pro quo type dialogue, the motivation for doing so is physical and sexual aggression, and it is accomplished through pushback and playful verbal challenges. And if personal expression serves as a platform for freedom and subsequent feistiness, the motivation for this expression is often validation and a sense of safety, and it's accomplished through organic actions and articulations that reflect the unique character of that subtype. So what can these motivations and methods tell us about how to increase the power gap in each of these scenarios? This is the time to think critically, dominance. All right, so if your subtype is bratting because they're seeking increased tension through resistance, how could you show up and increase the power gap in that setting? If your smart-ass masochist is running their mouth because they want to see some erotic aggression from you, how can you show up and increase the power gap in that setting? And if your subtype just feels so safe and free in your presence that they poke and play as a fun way of expressing themselves, how could you show up and increase the power gap in that setting? Do you see how the why behind the what determines the how? All right, motivation makes all the difference here. So again, if you're having trouble with some of these critical thinking questions, or you just want the cheat sheets that I've already made for you, check out my new Brat Taming bundle on Patreon. Just go over to patreon.com/LXerotica to get instant access to this incredible new bundle. So LX Army, thanks so much for tuning in today, and I hope you found this content helpful. If so, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, like this video, and share it with a friend who could benefit from this wisdom. And make sure you have those notifications turned on so you won't miss next week's video, where we will discuss the dark and destructive side of bratting. That was a mouthful.